What's good, unapologetic gang? So it's MorenikeC, and I wanted to go over some of the signs in which we are being prepared or we're on the path of marriage. So the first thing is that for whatever reason, you're drawn to things of marriages. For example, you're attending marriage conferences. You're learning about what it is to be inside of a union with God. You're drawn to people who are in the supernatural in terms of their marriages. So this is one thing. The next is that as you think about and reflect on your day, things are being the path is just there. So let me just give my examples here. I went to marriage conference. I'm like, it just seemed interesting, so I wanted to check it out. I've always been interested in that and helping married couples come together. And then all of a sudden, sometimes I would make a note of a store and I'm like, oh, my wedding. Okay. And to sometimes even I would sit and wonder, well, who is this person? Like, if I apparently know them or what? I mean, I would pray with other people and they would come up with all kinds of different names. And I'm like, them? Okay. And not really knowing what to think about it. And you know what? Maybe it's two different people. And the next is finding yourself kind of like being attracted to marriage things. And it just feels so out of like, this is random. Okay, I'm going to put myself in a wedding store and just see what kinds of stuff come up. Then next thing you know, you're minding your business and you're avoiding listening to anybody else's words on marriage. I mean, maybe one or two things. Oh, it's coming. Oh, it's near. But, you know, most of us aren't really trying to hear it unless it's going to happen tomorrow. Don't let me know, right? Let my spirit listen, but my soul just in one ear and out the other. Just kind of getting frustrated with everything. And then knowing that God has gone a little bit silent when we pray about it. I've literally left a lot of things on the altar, like people's names. And I would feel such a calm after I would give God the names and just say, look, I don't know. I recently had to break up with somebody and I think of him often, but I just keep saying in my spirit, he's a fake. He's a false. The devil is a liar. But he was a really nice false, let's be honest. He looked very cool. He had a lot going on for him in regards to his looks, and he liked to read. And he seemed quite self-sufficient, but it didn't get very far. It got to 2 dates, and then I just said, look, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to heal myself, and if things are okay, when I finish doing that, then we can start back up again. But right now, I just can't. And then hearing in your spirit why certain fasts are coming. Fasting for your husband. Feeling like, okay, you need to get into a workout routine. Like certain things that would be necessary glue for couples is something that's now being a priority for you. For example, your health. I mean, God's talking to me about weight a lot, and not to weight, but my physical weight, the things I'm putting inside of my body, you know, maybe how I'm talking to other people. These are just a lot of heavy lessons that I'm learning, and it's not easy. Honestly, I really don't like to talk about myself, especially in the area of marriage and relationships, because this is something I'm also feeling that needs to be completely covered. I don't like telling people, oh yeah, you know, it's really important to guard this. And I don't want anybody to know whether I'm single, dating, or married, or nothing like that. It's a very vulnerable place to be. And talking about business also, like, I don't even like to share what's going on in my business as far as my day-to-day goes. Like, that to me is already an area where I feel so uncomfortable to be 150%. And so when I stop and I really do, analyze a lot of the things that have happened, I ended up saying, oh my gosh, God, you just had me look at 50 different pictures of wedding hairstyles. Look, I don't know what's to happen in regards to the person, but I know what I'm being led to, and it feels interesting. I'm in a space, y'all, and it's confusing because I don't want to hear anybody else's word, but sometimes it just keeps happening. And I had prayed about having good relationships with family members, but then somebody came up with a word saying, you may not like them. And I'm like, oh, why are you speaking death into my situation when this is something I have prayed for, that I personally don't need to go through anybody else's persecution inside of a family. But also knowing, okay, whatever happens when this situation, like, okay, clearly this has been an important message. And do you know something? On February 22nd, I was kind of down in the dumps a little bit. I actually checked out of my hotel room. Oh, wow. Look at God go. I checked out of my hotel room. Well, that was the last day I was in it. I had no money. I was down to last 200 pesos, 150, may I say. And a girl I'd met 2 days prior said, you can always stay at my house. I said, what? Anyway, I was writing down all the 222 because February 22nd, 2022, this is powerful. So I said, this ain't nothing to joke about. Let me crack open my Bible and go to every second chapter, 22nd verse, or 22nd chapter, 22nd verse. And do you know in Genesis, you were brought to your husband? And I just said, whoa. I think a lot of other people really like to quote, I think it's Jeremiah 22:22, or I think it's Isaiah. Let me double check real quick. Here are the keys and what no man can, let me check. I don't want to misquote anything. Here we go. So it's important for me to recognize some of these things and put the dots together, and to see that, okay, although I've been hearing God before, always give me warnings, leave, don't worry, I'll provide your needs. I hadn't heard any voice of anything except for through other people. I have now, allowed two people to kind of come a little bit close to me. So we have conversation and they kind of know some of the things that's going on in my life. And wow, that's all I have to say. Just having a little friend to talk to is nice. And going in a space of isolation is the other. So here it is in Isaiah 22:22. And I will place on his shoulder the key of the house of David. He shall open and none shall shut. And he shall shut and none shall open. So that to me was like something I had seen before. I actually ended up just going through the entire New Testament to see, okay, what are the new things that's going on? Because, I mean, to be honest, who wants to be reading the Old Testament? But I was literally brought to the Old Testament. And I said, this is interesting. I'm sitting in a mall writing down scriptures. And the rib, this is Genesis 2:22, and the rib that the Lord God had taken from the man, he made into a woman and brought her to the man. I said, well, okay. Not only are the situations starting to happen where, like, real human and loneliness is starting to get to us, because a lot of people say things, oh, it's not good to be broke. It's not good to do this. It's not good to be alone. It's not good. Like, it's not good for a man to be alone. And at first, I never saw that as a promise. I'm just saying, God said that's not good. He didn't say, I will provide. He just said, it's not good. But as I continue reading that, the fact that, Genesis 2:22, and the rib that the Lord had taken from the man, made into a woman and brought her to the man. So this is interesting that this has all kind of happened within the last week. And the marriage conferences, the marriage experiences, all of this is starting to happen, and it's raining heavy. And I'm like, wow, okay. My ears is perked up, and I'm ready to receive more information. I'm attending marriage conferences solo. I am learning about relationship masterclasses. I'm now starting to teach everything about in my life as if it were a marriage, as if this is how people continue to grow. And really, it gave me some different aspects and dynamics on what to expect. I know it's never a walk in the park, but this is for rich or for poor, till death do we part, for sickness and in health. This is the rest of our life. This is the mission partner. This is the person who we have to stay open with. So I had made that day, I think it was on the 19th, after I finished attending the marriage conference, that just blew my mind. I had grown so much. I was making and taking all of these notes. And because not only do I help in my own life, like being on the outside, being able to just say, oh, this just needs to be fixed. But saying it for myself to actually know, it was completely different. So I made a podcast about that, about how I was seeing everything like a marriage, like the place, even the hotel where I was staying, that was a marriage. And how sometimes being lost in my own emotions, but how it's still there. It's like an institution. It's a lot. And then hearing that we are Proverbs 31 women has been its own experience. And it's just a journey. It's a lot. And really coming to, some of the harsher, and I don't want to say harsher, but like the harsher realities. The really nice reality is we will meet the other half. We will come into two as one. But the harsher reality is there might be times where we're 3 steps ahead, and because of whatever it is that we're going through, for example, I was very stressed about money. The hotel was still this entity that still provided for me, gave for me. They really respected that I didn't want any phone calls. I didn't want anybody to come and clean. I just liked my privacy because there was a lot of personal things in my room. And all of that, and I still felt like maybe I was just dogging them out. I just like check out what I want, check right back in. And it was just kind of this really strange roller coaster. And I realized this is a marriage. Everything is a marriage. I want to treat things as a marriage, and kind of coming out of a space of persecution, coming out of a space of people who, of being around circles of people who didn't want what was good for me, looking at me with one kind of evil eye, how these, side eyeing me, or saying things nice to my face and not so nice behind my back. And that's life. However, that's not really, I just needed to be in a space of solitude. So I just pray that this message will bless you. I really didn't want to talk about myself, but sometimes just kind of easier to give examples than to just give bullet points. Marriage is coming for many people, and quote unquote soon. But the thing is, even if I'm gravitated, I do feel a deep sense of wanting to back off a lot, because even if I feel like it's coming. I also don't want to get very excited and believe it's going to happen in 5 minutes, and it might take 7 more years. But there was a preparation time. I can't tell you how many prophetic words I had gotten personally that were saying, by next year, this time, and all of these were just timings. And I never understood when some people said they had unspoken beef with God, that their faith was low, what that meant. But I can honestly say I was kind of coming into that at the beginning of this year, at the beginning of 2022. I feel like that's going to be a podcast for another time. For now, marriage is very close, but we don't know how close. If it's just a word, things are close. The hairstyles and, to plan an entire wedding is not done in one day. So all of the small details is just very blowing my mind about the details, like things I hadn't thought of. Like my hair? What? Okay. Invitations? Oh, just thinking of that little, like cakes. And I'm like, oh, wow, this is going to be a big deal. Especially when I'm in a space where I'm wanting to be extremely private. A lot of people will advertise, we're engaged. And, a lot of them are cool for a little bit, and they got everybody all up in their business and their social media, and this is our marriage, this is what we're talking about, groom, or get ready with me, which I just learned what that meant. And it's just kind of like, why are some of these people advertising it, and then 2 years later they just stop uploading? Or everybody's like, well, rumors say they're not together, because everybody's in their business. So I'm all about keeping quiet and moving in silence, and I'm excited to, for that to be my private scenario. But yeah, people start asking, and when people ask, just know you don't tell anybody nothing. Just, nope, I'm single and I don't date. I believe in marriage, like everything, and just keeping that extremely quiet. And what God even showed me when I was looking at these wedding hairstyles, was somebody I ended up staying with in Malaysia. He was also from Nigeria, and I was asking him, when is the next time or last time you had been? He said, actually, I'm going in like 1 or 2 months, or by the end of next month, because my brother's getting married and I'm in the wedding. I said, oh my gosh, that's great. He could have just said, I'm going to Nigeria next month. He didn't need to tell me all of that story, because I'm literally couch surfing with him. I'm like in his spare bedroom. There was no need for him to say all of that, but I appreciated it. So it was important for me to hear that, because when I was following his social media, I saw it was him who got married. It was him. I was shocked. I was like, oh, what? Why did he just say it was his brother? So I'm saying this because this is how escondido, hidden, we have to be. Escondido is the translation in Spanish means hidden. So this is why everything has to be very escondido, silencio. We have to just move quietly, because there's way too many people that don't want good for us. And many of us have just been coming out of this incredibly hard, lonely place. I don't want to say lonely because we've had God, but let's be honest, it is lonely and painful. And so whenever this situation does happen, no matter how happy we are, it's just something to keep quiet. I know I have to keep this quiet. I never really shared anything. Actually, I did. When I was, I would ask people to pray, and that was the next thing that was told in my heart. Rules for moving forward is we got to keep it down the DL. Like, not ask people to come and pray as well. Like, hey, can you pray for me about this in this area? I just need some clarification. No more of that. That's got to go. Ain't nobody gonna get all up in the business and, oh, really? Some of the people that are praying with us and supposed to be covering us are the reasons that we've had some setbacks. And it's not to be disrespectful or rude, but the truth is, just because people come to church, just because they're in a prayer group, does not mean that their heart is pure. And most of us coming out of hard times and listening to other people who are praying and telling us their horror stories, it's just important to just really protect and guard it with extreme, like this is your last meal, and this is the last meal you're about to have for the next 21 days, kind of fast, kind of protection. So, yeah. It's a lot, but I'm really excited. I'm really, really, really excited for most people and some of the journeys that we are continuing to be on, and how that goes. It's going to be a surprise, as somebody else said with me. It's going to be a surprise. God wants it to be a surprise. So if there's anything you can, again, quick takeaways. The first is that you need to start acting married. Start being around people who are in a marriage. Start understanding what is life like in a married unit. What are some situations that would be hard that you could help overcome and design it in the beginning, so that understanding where people are in the middle of their marriage, it's not that bad of a problem for you. What I mean is the communication part, and by starting that in the very beginning, we're already knowing, okay, just because God said this is your husband, just because God said this is your spouse and your wife, it does not just mean this person automatically gets you. No matter how much, even if you hold their hand and in your spirit, you just feel a peace, a calmness. That's not everything. That's not your mission. That's not understanding if this person has certain triggers. It's not understanding their values and how they grew up. It's not understanding how they like to grow spiritually, or what love languages they speak, or whether they come from, like what their finances look like in regards to, maybe this person is comes from a communist background and you come from a capitalist background, and then there's clashes. And what are you going to do when you're setting the foundation that way? And how are we going to handle doing certain tasks? And what are you good at that? Hey, listen, I know myself and I need this as a blind spot. Everything is a complete conversation. So again, like I shared with you guys, I love books. What was recommended to me by a mentor is, I will go ahead and link it down below so you guys have a space to just check it out. Very important stuff. And I attended a marriage conference. I do believe now it's been posted on YouTube as of a few days ago. Shout out to Pastor Mike. This really blew my mind. And in regards to putting me in the mind frame of in a different level of life. So I'm really appreciating that very well. And the next is, I know most of us are thinking about people in our past, those who wronged us. But I started also getting downloads. I was just in Office Mags and I was like, okay, God is speaking. And God began to show me a lot of people I was dating in the past. One from even 7-8 years ago. I thought I needed to break the soul tie. I said, again, here we go. I didn't know about that person, but let's go ahead and do it. And God said, wait. I'm just showing you this as I asked. I just said, I was almost in an immediate space, but of wanting to just rebuke everything. But I said, okay, God, why are you showing me this person? And he told me that this person was abusive without me actually recognizing that I had done the right thing in shutting off the relationship in regards to the red flags, but that it wasn't bad. That he showed me that I knew how to end the relationship. So as most of you are thinking of your exes, it's okay, because we're all wondering, well, I got this word, but somebody else said this, and that's kind of counterintuitive, or that's not the name of the person. So that's interesting you would say that. That feels like a different form of just be happy that you've rid yourself, and God is going to start explaining and bringing clarification to why some of the people didn't work out, or what, I feel as if now I'm finally seeing very clearly. I was actually in disillusionment, like, wow. I was in extreme disillusionment about one relationship, but it was because I was so hurt. I was reliving majority of my traumas all over again, and it was just a lot. Having to write about it and reliving it, I was putting myself there. And sometimes we don't end up in the best relationships when we're in a traumatic mindset. So as God is continuing to, give revelation and peace to your mind, go ahead and shut the door, slam it, and don't let them come back. The ones that God is showing you. And things will get clear. All right. I love you guys. God bless you. Go ahead and take care. And I will go ahead and link the book as well. It's called Questions to Ask Before You Get Engaged. So these are very serious, heavy questions, and good to help us really understand the other person that we're going to say I do to. All right. See you. Oh, also, and then the marriage conferences down below.